Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight, we have a tech talk on React Router by Luis Cruz. Luis, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thank you, Ari. Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's tech talk, I would like to start off by thanking the sponsor of this event, Pressable. Today, we're going to explore React Router, a fundamental tool for managing navigation in modern web applications. React Router is something that many developers use daily, but understanding its full potential can greatly enhance the efficiency and user experience of your applications. So let's dive right in and explore what makes React Router so essential in today's web development. Here's a quick overview of what we'll cover today. We'll begin with a basic understanding of what React Router is, which will help set the stage for why it's such a powerful tool. Then, we'll discuss the advantages of using React Router by comparing it with traditional routing methods. After that, I'll walk you through the process of setting up React Router in a typical React application. Then, I'm going to explain two ways of handling user navigation. Next, we'll explore some of the advanced features that can take your applications to the next level. We'll also address some common mistakes developers make when using React Router, and more importantly, how to avoid them. Finally, we'll take a look at HashRouter. Throughout this talk, I encourage you to think about how these tools and techniques can be applied in your own projects. React Router is a declarative component-based tool for managing navigation in React applications. It was originally created in 2014 by Ryan Florence and Michael Jackson, and over the years, it has evolved significantly. Today, it's the market standard for handling client-side routing in React applications. So, what does React Router actually do? Well, at its core, it allows you to create multiple routes in your React application and navigate between them without triggering a full page reload. This is crucial for building fast, responsive user interfaces that feel like native applications. When users click on links or buttons, React Router updates the URL in the browser and renders the appropriate component for that route, all without leaving the current page. One of the key advantages of React Router is its flexibility. It's not just limited to single-page applications, it can also be used in multi-page applications. This flexibility allows you to create highly interactive web applications that maintain smooth, seamless navigation experiences for users. Now you might be wondering just how widely adopted React Router is. Well, the answer is very. Many major companies, including Facebook, Netflix, Airbnb, and Discord, rely on React Router to manage their web applications' routing needs. For example, Netflix uses React Router to manage the complex navigation within their web platform, ensuring that users can smoothly transition between browsing content, managing profiles, and streaming videos, all without unnecessary reloads or delays. Similarly, Airbnb uses it to manage their search and listing pages, which are critical for a smooth user experience. These companies choose React Router because it offers the reliability and scalability they need to support millions of users. The widespread adoption is a testament to the robustness and flexibility of React Router. Whether you're building a small personal project or a large-scale enterprise application, React Router has the capabilities to handle your routing needs. Let's talk about why you should incorporate React Router into your applications. Well, before tools like React Router, navigating between different pages in a web application would often require full page reloads. This resulted in slower load times and a less responsive user interface, which can be frustrating for users and can even drive them away from your application. If you were serving different React components on different URLs without a tool like React Router, you need separate HTML files or complex custom logic to handle the routing. This approach is not only cumbersome, but also error-prone, especially as your application grows in complexity. Another key reason to use React Router is its ability to handle browser history and back-forward navigation consistently. Without React Router, managing these aspects manually is tricky and can lead to bugs. React Router, however, integrates directly with the browser's history API, ensuring that navigation works as expected, whether the user is clicking on links, using the back button, or typing URLs directly into the address bar. In short, React Router makes routing easy, efficient, and reliable, allowing you to focus on building great user experiences rather than worrying about the intricacies of navigation. Setting up React Router is very straightforward, but it's still essential to get it right from the start. The first step is to install React Router using npm with the command npm install React Router DOM. This package includes everything you need to start using React Router in your project. Next, you'll want to import the necessary components, specifically browser router, routes, and route. These components are the backbone of your routing setup. Browser router is the router implementation that uses the browser history API. Routes is a wrapper for all your route definitions, and a route is used to define the paths and the components that should be rendered for each path. Once you have your imports, you'll wrap your application in a browser router component. Inside this, you'll use the routes component to define each individual route using the route component. For example, if you have a home page and an about page, you might set up routes for /home and /about, each pointing to a different component. One of the powerful features of React Router is its ability to pass props to components through routes. This allows you to easily customize components based on the route they're rendered from. For instance, you can pass data or functions to a component based on the URL parameters, enabling highly dynamic and responsive interfaces. And if you're integrating React Router with a state management tool like Redux, you can wrap your entire routing setup in a provider component. This allows you to manage state globally across your application while still benefiting from React Router's powerful routing capabilities. Handling user navigation effectively is crucial for creating a smooth user experience in your React applications. React Router provides several powerful tools to help with this, including the use navigate hook and the navigate component. First, let's talk about the use navigate hook. This hook is incredibly useful when you need to navigate programmatically, such as when a user clicks a button to move between different tabs or sections within your application. By using use navigate, you can easily send users to specific routes without relying on traditional link elements. On the other hand, the navigate component is designed for scenarios where you need to redirect users as soon as a page is rendered. For instance, you might use navigate to handle deprecated routes or wildcard routes, ensuring that users are automatically redirected to the correct location without any extra steps. I'll be addressing another use case for the navigate component shortly, so keep this component in mind as we move forward. Understanding these tools and knowing when to use them will help you create more dynamic and responsive navigation experiences in your applications. Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive into some of the advanced features that make React Router such a versatile tool. First, let's talk about dynamic routing. Dynamic routing is a feature that allows you to create routes that include parameters. For example, if you're building a user profile page, you might want to create a route like /user/:user ID, where the :user ID is a variable that changes based on the user. React Router makes it easy to access these dynamic parameters in your components, allowing you to fetch and display data specific to the current user. Next, there's nested routes. Nested routes allow you to build complex UI structures by nesting route components within each other. This is particularly useful for creating layouts where different parts of the UI update independently. For example, if you have a dashboard with a sidebar and a main content area, you can nest routes so that the sidebar remains constant while the main content changes based on the selected route. Protected routes are another advanced feature that's essential for many applications. With protected routes, you can restrict access to certain parts of your application based on conditions like user authentication. This is crucial for building secure applications where certain content or functionality should only be accessible to logged in users. You can easily create protected routes in React Router by checking the user's authentication status before rendering the route and redirecting unauthenticated users to a login page. This method uses the aforementioned navigate component to automatically send the user to /login. Finally, let's discuss lazy loading. Lazy loading is a performance optimization technique where components are only loaded when they're needed. This is especially useful for large applications where loading all components up front would be inefficient. With React Router, you can implement lazy loading by wrapping your route in a suspense component. The suspense component will display the text you input while the React component is loading. Then you can import React's lazy function to dynamically import components. This ensures that your application remains fast and responsive even as it grows in complexity. Even experienced developers can run into issues when working with React Router. Let's go over some of the common mistakes and how you can avoid them. One of the most common mistakes is forgetting to wrap your application in a router, for example, browser router or hash router, which I'll talk about next. If you don't do this, none of your routes will work and you'll quickly run into errors. You should always ensure that your top-level component, such as app, is wrapped in a router to provide the necessary routing context for the rest of your application. Another common mistake is using the route component outside of or instead of a routes component. In the React Router, all route components must be nested inside a routes component. To fix this, simply make it a conscious decision when trying to handle routing. Lastly, incorrectly configuring the server can cause many problems, especially when using browser router. If your server isn't configured to handle client-side routing, you'll get a cannot get /root error when you refresh the page or try to access a route directly. To fix this, configure your server to always serve the index.html file to all routes. This ensures that React Router can handle the routing on the client side. This error can also happen if you're using Webpack and incorrectly configure it. For example, statically serving every file in your /build folder instead of using a proxy. Next, let's talk about Hash Router. Unlike Browser Router, which integrates with the browser's history API, Hash Router uses the hash portion of the URL to manage routing. This means that instead of the clean URLs like localhost 3000/home, you'll get URLs like localhost 3000/hash/home. The hash portion of the URL is never sent to the server, so you don't need to worry about configuring the server to handle all the different routes. This makes HashRouter ideal for situations where you don't have control over the server or setting up server-side routing isn't practical. I've referenced several sources throughout this presentation to ensure accuracy and provide you with the best possible information. If you'd like to dive deeper into React Router or explore the topics we covered today, feel free to check out these resources. Before we wrap up, I want to thank you all for coming to this tech talk. I hope you found it informative and that you leave with a better understanding of how to use React Router in your projects. If you have any questions or would like to discuss anything further, I'm here to help. Thanks again and have a great day.
Wow, Luis, thank you so much for such a stunning talk on React Router. We actually have time for one quick question if anyone has one. Ashley, go ahead.
Hi, Louise. Great tech talk. My question for you is, in your opinion, do you believe that hash routing or that method would be better than some sort of conditional rendering?
Um, I think that the type of router you use doesn't really affect conditional rendering. Like I mentioned before, React Router is very easy to implement conditional rendering even when you're using browser router. Hash router is typically used for smaller applications where you only have to worry about serving your index file to one path.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That wraps up all of our time for tonight. So thank you all so much for coming.